We had our annual roundtable meeting of Christian leaders from around that are leaders in different fields. Extraordinary time. Then we had our annual board meeting, in which time we transferred and prayed for Chris to be ordained as the head of this ministry now. So he's your leader. Take all the problems to him.
When Rick Joyner and Chris Reed first met in the spring of 2020, it was at that time that they both recognized they shared the same ministry vision and the same vision about what God planned to accomplish in the world. Joyner was quite impressed with Reed when they first met via a mutual acquaintance, and this pleased him much since Reed seemed like the ideal successor to lead his ministry whenever he chose to retire. "We both felt like God was calling me there as to be his successor," said Reed. "It's just a natural fit. Not only am I the right age to be his biological son, but certainly a spiritual son," Reed explained, adding that however long the transition takes, they will just let the Lord lead. Reed, who was raised in a family active in the Pentecostal movement, was appointed pastor of Apostolic Revival Center at the age of 25 and later became the head pastor in 2009. Chris Reed consented to assume the role of his senior colleague, Rick Joyner, at Morningstar Ministries in Fort Mill, South Carolina in June 2021 and had been serving in that role until August 26, 2024 when he resigned. Reed, who has served as both the CEO and the president of Morningstar, turned in his resignation on Monday, August 26, and handed the ministry back over to Rick Joyner. He cited, among other things, the sexual abuse of minors by a former volunteer and police officer. Reed said that both he and his wife, Missy, were sexually abused as children by people outside their families. And so this topic hit close to home, as it was something that has haunted him throughout his life since it happened when he was just 7 years old. Here is the letter to Morningstar staff shared on X of Reed explaining why he was returning leadership of the ministry to founder Rick Joyner. Dear Morningstar staff, employees, and friends, after much prayer, thought, and consideration, along with Missy and trusted friends, I have decided to fully and immediately step down from all leadership responsibilities at Morningstar Ministries. This includes my roles as CEO, President, and Senior Pastor of the Fort Mill Church, turning the ministry back over to Rick Joyner, the founder of Morningstar. I submitted my letter of resignation on Monday, August 26, 2024, and it was graciously accepted. I know this may come as a surprise, and perhaps even a shock, to some of you. Please believe me when I say this was not an easy decision. There are many reasons behind this choice, but primarily, after 3 years of serving here, including over a year as CEO and President, one have come to realize that I cannot continue in this role. My calling has always been, and remains, to prophesy, pastor, teach, preach, and write. That is why I have made the decision to return fully to what God has called me to. I will continue to write and build an online model of house churches led by regional elders, based on the Acts 2 verse 42 model I have received from the Lord. Additionally, I will continue to train and lead others in an online school of the prophetic, similar to what I created with the School of the Prophets. At some point, I plan to relocate and start a new church in another part of South Carolina, even though right now I have no money and will be unemployed. As many of you are aware, in the late spring of 2023, allegations surfaced against a former volunteer and police officer. These crimes took place before I took over. We immediately told the police, and this was reported in the news. I never met the man or his family. This individual committed terrible crimes against minors. Missy and I stand unequivocally with the victims and their families. I condemn his actions in the strongest possible terms. This is also why I hired an external group to train our staff on sexual abuse awareness and how to safeguard minors. This issue hits close to home for both Missy and me, as we both experienced the evils of sexual abuse when we were children by non-relatives. It is something that has haunted me throughout my life since it happened when I was just 7 years old. I want to take this moment to personally thank each of you for your trust, hard work, support, and ideas. A special thanks to Rick and Julie, who have been so good to us. Missy and I love the entire leadership team, staff, and members of Morningstar. I was only able to do my job here because of all of you. I am truly grateful for the experience and knowledge I have gained during my time at Morningstar. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with such wonderful people. Many of you have become close friends, and I am confident those friendships will last for life. I understand that my sudden resignation may cause some disruption, and I apologize for any inconvenience this may create. However, I hope you can understand and support this transition. While I will miss Morningstar, I am excited about this next chapter in my life and believe deeply in the future ahead for Morningstar as well. I have nothing but respect and honor for the leadership of Morningstar Ministries. I have no negative feelings toward anyone here. I simply find myself in a position where I can no longer lead the ministry. I hope you understand and that we can remain friends. With gratitude and love, Chris Reed. Now, Rick Joyner has addressed Reed's abrupt resignation from Morningstar, saying Reed is under spiritual deception and ongoing legal battles over sexual abuse allegations. In a statement posted to X, Joyner attempted to clear up the chaos and confusion that many may have felt after Reed's sudden resignation. The statement mixes concern, defense, and hope for future restoration. The statement that has since been deleted read: Statement on Chris Reed resigning from Morningstar by Joyner. This resignation may seem bizarre and confused to those who have followed, and I hope this will clear up some things. First, I want to thank all who have communicated your prayers and support for Chris and for us. This is a serious situation, and I've seen this kind of thing several times over the 50+ years I've been in ministry. And I've seen it rob some with very powerful gifts of years of effective ministry. One was me, as this deception came upon me and cost me more than 10 years of ministry. I saw it cost Bob Jones 8 years, and one think it cost Paul Cain his ultimate purpose. It is the most deceptive spirit I've ever dealt with, and right now I think Chris Reed is in a battle for his future. Later I will elaborate on this in much more detail because I have witnessed many Christians led astray from their purpose by this, with an incalculable cost to the body of Christ. However, I've seen some wake up, get restored, and even when they had lost many years of effective service, the Lord make this up to them. For this reason, I never give up on anyone regardless of how far off they seem to get. Many of the great voices in Scripture and history also experienced this. Not all recovered, but those who did were used in an even greater way. Chris has an important calling for this time, and I feel at least partially responsible, understanding this as I do, for not seeing this coming at him. I could have done better helping him resist it. Even so, whether in a short or long time, I am confident Chris will get through this and take his place doing what he is called to do. This is not to imply that leaving Morningstar will cost people their purpose. Many come to Morningstar for a period of time to get what they need from us, and then need to leave to go on to their purpose. As to the scandal of how several of the youth at Morningstar were sexually abused by a volunteer worker that was a police officer, this is true. As soon as we heard about this, we called the police, who came and investigated it, and charged the man responsible. We did everything we knew to do to cooperate with the investigation, and to help the victims and their families get healed of this terrible assault. Overall, we felt that the victims and their families dealt with this with remarkable grace, but one decided to sue us. They alleged many outrageous things about the ministry that are not true. None of the leaders of Morningstar were charged with anything, or were in any way involved in this. There was no negligence found on our part. There was drinking and pornography given to underage minors by the police officer charged, but to our knowledge, none of this happened at a Morningstar event or property. Besides the police, we brought in a professional agency to investigate us, our vetting methods, etc., and to find anything that was negligent on our part. For anyone, especially one of God's people, to be subject to this type of thing because of negligence on our part would have been one of the most terrible things he could think of. The conclusion that was reported to me was that we had not done anything wrong, or been negligent in any way. Of course, the lawsuit filed alleges differently, and accuses the ministry of some very outrageous things that are not true. Because these accusations are so outrageous, we do not intend to settle, but want it to go to court where we are confident we can prove our innocence. This being said, we are grieved by what happened to these young men, and the hurt this has caused everyone touched by it. Even though we may have been innocent negligence in this, we have offered to take care of any counseling or ministry needed by these families because we want to help any of God's people who He has put in our care as get healed from any spiritual or emotional wounds, and turn what the devil meant for evil turn into good as God is so good at doing. In these times, this kind of thing is getting much more frequent, and we are seeking to use it as much as we can to help any victims of it. This is a brief on some of the things we have been dealing with at Morningstar, but as we have experienced many times before, when there are such attacks, they are followed by a great move of God, which we have also been experiencing. We believe all of this is happening to give us more wisdom, knowledge, and authority to deal with the devil's schemes in our time. I will share more detail later when I have the time to hopefully help others to deal with such things. We must always keep in mind that the Lord will always lead us in His triumph, in everything, and He causes all things to work for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So, we never surrender, never give up, and so never lose your peace and the joy of the Lord, that is our strength. What do you think of this latest development from Morningstar Ministries? It seems like there is more that we are not being told. It's intriguing how a would-be successor of Rick Joyner has decided to resign and go start afresh. Let's keep praying for both Reed and Joyner and the congregation at Morningstar Ministries. We will continue updating you as this story unfolds and more details emerge. Please consider subscribing, like this video, and let's engage at the comment section. God bless you.